All right, well, we're recording now, so I'll just say to anyone watching this, welcome to the Peace Corps Prep information session. And I'm Carrie Henquinet, and I'm the director of the Peace Corps Prep program. This is officially part of the Study Abroad Fair. We don't have a faculty-led program for Peace Corps Prep per se, but we have a program where we train people up and we can integrate various study abroad opportunities as well as other kinds of opportunities for people to gain experience for Peace Corps in our program. So I'm going to tell you all about it. Erica, remind me too, we can come back to the humanitarian engineering as well, because that minor I think is a nice fit with the Peace Corps Prep. And there's another minor I'll tell you about as well that's a nice fit. So some of these things can overlap quite nicely, you'll see. So let's see, I got everybody right. Everybody get a chance to introduce themselves. So what I'm going to do is start out with a short video that Peace Corps produced about Peace Corps Prep. It's just a couple of minutes. So give me just a second here. I'm going to share that video screen again. And let me make sure I get the audio. Okay. So hopefully this is going to work now. If you can't hear, start yelling or just waving your hands or something, and I'll know that it needs to get adjusted. So hopefully you'll have some sound. So here we go.
Are you interested in serving in the Peace Corps after graduation? Peace Corps Prep is an undergraduate certificate program that allows you to get a competitive edge for applying to the Peace Corps and can also strengthen your resume and build skills for other cross-cultural and international service and professional opportunities. It centers on one empowering question: how can you prepare yourself to be the best Peace Corps volunteer you can be? It's extremely flexible and allows you to pursue interests and passions from a wide variety of areas. Ready to get started on your Peace Corps Prep journey? Let's go over a few easy steps to get you on your way. Step 1. Get in contact with your campus's Peace Corps Prep coordinator, who will be your main point of contact for information and advising about the program, making sure you have all of the information you need to stay on track. If you're not sure who that is, you can check your institution's Peace Corps Prep webpage for contact information. If your institution does not have a Peace Corps Prep program, you can still connect with your local Peace Corps recruiter to explore your options. You can find their contact information on the Peace Corps website at www.peacecorps.gov. Step 2. Review your campus-specific Peace Corps Prep student guide to learn more about the program and explore courses and opportunities that will fulfill the components of the certificate program. Step 3. In communication with your Peace Corps Prep coordinator and advisors, fill out the student application to map out your undergraduate plan of action to complete the core components of the Peace Corps Prep program. You'll complete training and hands-on experience in one of the Peace Corps' 6 sectors, focusing on agriculture, community and economic development, education, environment, health, or youth and development. You'll choose 3 related courses and undertake a hands-on or virtual experience of 50 hours or more related to your chosen sector. Depending on where in the world you're interested in serving and your institution's requirements, you'll take foreign language courses. Additionally, you'll take intercultural competency courses to prepare you for the intercultural exchanges that are part of the daily life of Peace Corps volunteers. Some of these course requirements may be substituted by studying abroad in countries that currently or previously hosted Peace Corps volunteers. Finally, you'll demonstrate a significant leadership experience, such as being on the board of a student club or starting a volunteer organization, and then have your resume reviewed and strengthen your interviewing skills. Check in regularly with your Peace Corps Prep coordinator during your undergraduate career to ensure that you are on the right path. Step 4. Once you have completed all of the components of the program before graduation, complete and sign the exit checklist, certifying that you've fulfilled all of the core competencies. Your Peace Corps Prep coordinator will sign as well and pass your name along to Peace Corps to issue you an official certificate of completion. You'll use the signed exit checklist to upload to your Peace Corps application if and when you decide to apply for Peace Corps service, signaling to Peace Corps staff that you have already met all of the minimum qualifications to be competitive for Peace Corps service. Please remember that Peace Corps service is competitive, and completing the Peace Corps Prep program does not guarantee your acceptance into the Peace Corps. Thank you for your interest in the Peace Corps Prep program, and we are excited for you to begin your Peace Corps journey.
All right, hopefully you're able to view and hear that video. So let me just make that again. Stop share and go back to the PowerPoint.
I lost 53 pounds.
Oh,
I would
sorry.
say that it far exceeded my expectations.
On week 10.
Oh, these YouTube videos. Sorry about that. Okay. There we go. Now back to the PowerPoint. Okay. So this is, like I said, pretty informal. Feel free to just interrupt if you have questions as I go through some things. And I had the chat open. Let me just reopen the chat so I can kind of keep an eye on that as well. Okay. So with that, let's go into presentation mode and take a look at Peace Corps Prep. Break it down just a little bit for you and answer some of those specifics about how it works at Michigan Tech. So Michigan Tech has an official partnership with the Peace Corps to run the Peace Corps Prep program. As I mentioned before, we've had other partnerships. We have a one at the grad level that remains. It's called Coverdell Fellows, and we used to have the Peace Corps Masters International. The Peace Corps itself, if you're not super familiar with it, is a federally funded volunteer program where they send volunteers to countries around the world. It's always an international placement, and it has a mission to promote world peace and friendship by fulfilling 3 goals. The first, to help the people of interested countries in meeting their need for trained volunteers. And then you'll notice the second 2 are really about relationships, promote a better understanding of Americans on the part of the people served, and to help promote a better understanding of other people on the part of Americans. So these are and have been the 3 core goals of Peace Corps since it was founded in the 60s, and has continued to send volunteers up until the pandemic. So we're kind of hit the pause button, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go along. It certainly hasn't canceled things. It's just, we're just waiting to send volunteers back out into the field once things look safe enough. Peace Corps has existed in over 60 countries around the world. Some of these come and go a little bit as politics and safety changes in different areas, but you can serve in a number of Central American, Latin American, Caribbean countries, African countries, Eastern Europe, and Asia as well, and some Pacific Islands. So lots of places to look at. On the peacecorps.gov website, you can find all of the countries and all of the positions that they're currently looking for applicants for. So it's pretty fun to look through that and dream a little bit and see what looks interesting to you. So what is Peace Corps Prep exactly? Peace Corps Prep is preparing students with the skills and the mindset to be successful in the Peace Corps should they choose to apply someday. There's no requirement that you serve in Peace Corps, nor, as I said in the video, is there a 100% guarantee you'll get accepted. But I will say that people definitely have a leg up, and they've demonstrated commitment and development of the skill sets to be successful in Peace Corps. So you'll look good if you kind of follow through and do the things that Peace Corps has asked in this program. So, you know, in Peace Corps' words, it's a certificate program for undergraduates that centers on one empowering question: how can you prepare yourself to be the best Peace Corps volunteer you can be? And there are 4 core areas that you work on. One is a sector-specific skill, and I'll show you a little bit more about that. Second, foreign language proficiency. Mostly, if you want to go to a Spanish-speaking country, that's pretty much required. French-speaking country, required or highly desirable. And then from there, there's not a language requirement, but if you If you have language skills, that's a real plus. So you can do the Peace Corps Prep certificate without taking a foreign language class, or a modern language class, as a lot of people like to call it these days, in college. But it's certainly something that will strengthen you. And because the Latin American placements are very competitive, you'll need some Spanish to apply for those in Peace Corps. The third area is intercultural competence, and there are different classes that we've pulled together across campus to help you develop those skills. And then the professional savvy and leadership is more about doing some professional development through career services and a leadership experience, maybe being on an e-board for a club, working in the community, things like that. Going back to the sector specific trait skills, let me just see. Yeah, let me just explain that briefly. There are 6 major sectors in the Peace Corps. So we can think about those as theme areas that you would pick from in doing the Peace Corps Prep certificate. These are very broad areas. We have environment, health, agriculture, education, economic development, and youth and development. So a lot of those are very broad and not highly technical areas typically, but you really be doing a lot of community work. And even if you have an engineering degree or something like that, you might be able to use a little bit of that, but not like highly technical engineering, more community and education kinds of things. So you'll have some courses and then a 50-hour or more experience that would be aligned with that sector. Say you chose environment, right? So then you take some courses where you're focused on environmental issues, sustainability, and then maybe you've volunteered with a local conservation organization, or you've done the study abroad program in Costa Rica that Professor Winkler is running next summer. And that's all focused on sustainability issues. So there's some different ways you can get that experience. As I mentioned, Michigan Tech has had a long collaboration with Peace Corps, about 25 years, going back to our first Masters International collaboration with them, and then adding on the Coverdell, and finally the Peace Corps Prep. So these are just a few pictures of some of our alumni that I mentioned at the beginning. Barb in Senegal up on the top left, Tim Ward in Vanuatu, Fahime on the right side there, making shea butter in Ghana, Edric and Nick on the bottom. And both of them I know are working internationally quite a bit. Nick has been a doctor, or not a doctor, he worked for Doctors Without Borders for many years, but as an engineer, setting up sanitation systems and things in refugee camps, working in the Ebola crisis in West Africa. So not everybody goes on and continues to do that kind of work, but other people like Tim at the top is working in Silicon Valley now in the tech industry. So, it really varies a lot where people end up, but certainly this experience of Peace Corps really shapes their lives. So just really quick, there are Peace Corps requirements that fit really nicely, as I mentioned, with one of the minors we have, as well as sometimes some other minors. I've had students do a diversity minor that kind of had some nice overlap. The humanitarian engineering is also one where we can find some overlap with Peace Corps Prep certificate. And then there's a minor that's called, well, I didn't write the name of it here, but it's Global Community Development Partnerships that I developed specifically to go with Peace Corps Prep. So that is something you can do if you want to get a minor plus the certificate. Not all of them align perfectly like this one I designed, but it can be a lot of overlap with other minors. And also our honors program, our pathway program, there's a lot of overlap. So these two circles are just to show you some of that overlap with the honors program. If you're a first or second year student, be great to get you involved with the honors program. If you're further along, you really need about 4 semesters to complete the honors program. Peace Corps prep, we can be more flexible with the certificate aspect, but for honors, you have to do some assignments and things as you're going through some of these experiences. So that's why it's a little different. But Peace Corps prep, we can kind of retroactively count some things you've done in your undergraduate years. So the 3 courses for the Peace Corps sector, those are also in the Global Community Development Partnerships minor. 3 intercultural competency classes also in the minor. The language is kind of flexible. We could count it or not. And there's an immersion piece where you have to do some kind of intercultural or community work. It is a sort of experience, whether that's volunteer or a position that you have for the summer that's aligned with that sector work, and then whatever it is, environment or health or something else. So those are, the main pieces of both the minor and the Peace Corps prep. And then Peace Corps prep has a little bit more. Oh, we got somebody in the waiting room. One sec. Peace Corps prep has a little bit more like some of the job search prep, which is just working on your resume and interview skills. Very, very easy to do. If you do want to do the honors pathway, I just put in a plug for that. If someone's interested, we have 3 1-credit honors seminars and an honors project that would be above and beyond the stuff that you'd be doing for Peace Corps prep in the minor. So just a few things to think about. A lot of different options, a lot of different combinations, so you can get what you want. If you want to just do a Peace Corps prep certificate, we can work with that. If you want to do the full honors and the minor and everything, we can work with that as long as you have time to do that. So I can talk with people on a one-on-one and kind of do advising appointments with you if you'd like to talk about those things. So I have a few examples of Peace Corps prep students, and then we also have Emma here, who's a returned Peace Corps volunteer. So I wanted to just use this time here to introduce you to some of these people so you can get a sense of how people are accomplishing this Peace Corps prep program, and then what the end goal is in terms of going to Peace Corps and how that is. So the first person I'll introduce you to is Lydia. Lydia graduated last spring. And for her Peace Corps prep certificate, she actually is one that did the minor and the honors and everything, but just focusing on Peace Corps prep for the moment. She spent 3 summers working with Appalachian Service Project as a service organization that repairs low-income housing for families throughout the Appalachian area. And she had various roles there. She even did a project with them to kind of develop some IT and database kinds of tools, because she is a math major and she's really interested in data science. She also helped found and was the president of a new organization called Tech Tutors. During the pandemic, they did virtual tutoring with K-12 kids. And she ended up being awarded the Dean of Students Award for Service last year for all this work that she did. And she is not the first. I've had several students who have done Peace Corps prep and worked with us in honors, and they're just phenomenal. So I end up nominating them for that award, and they really shine. So you don't have to win that award to do Peace Corps prep, but if you do Peace Corps prep, you might get nominated for that award. So just kind of like an extra silver lining. And then there's Maya. So Maya is also someone who has graduated almost a year ago. And she focused her training on water resources, took a lot of civil environmental classes in her major, and ended up doing international senior design. So some of you might know about international senior design if you're in the College of Engineering. There are a couple different ways that it's run. Typically, Dr. Watkins takes some students to Panama to do a trip, and then they follow up in the fall with senior design. Maya had the opportunity, because of the pandemic, to do something a little different, and she partnered with a group in Ghana, and they did a design project for that partner in Ghana, but they were working remotely. But she also did study abroad in Ghana. She came with me when I was a visiting professor in Ghana, and she did a summer program. So she already had some experience. She'd able to study a little bit of the language tree, and she was able to do some volunteer work and take some classes as a study abroad student. Held leadership positions. She was a community ambassador for me, did service work to build relationships with Michigan Tech and the community. So just a lot of really cool stuff that she was able to do and apply towards the Peace Corps Prep program. And then the final person I'm going to introduce you to is Avi. Avi's still here. Maybe some of you know her. She's very busy with the emergency medical, as an emergency medical technician for Tech's EMS program, and a leader in that program. She's worked in as a clinical specialist for the COVID response team and one of our local providers. And she founded an organization during the pandemic called Tiny Knits. And it's an opportunity for students to learn, how to knit and crochet, but also is able to make apparel for newborns in the hospital and provide those. So example of someone who didn't incorporate a study abroad or anything like that, but really aligns with the mission of the Peace Corps in terms of her service work, especially in health sector and community work. So I have my information here. If anyone does want to reach out, I have my email here. Just jot it down, and then you can find me on the Pavlis Honors College website or the Social Sciences website as well. I do have open office hours on Thursdays in the morning, so I'd be happy to share that information. If you can do it by Zoom, or you can stop by my office in the Social Sciences department as well. So I'm happy to follow up one-on-one, but hopefully that give you a little bit of an overview of the program. And I'm going to stop sharing here so I can let Emma talk a little bit about your experience in the Gambia and what Peace Corps was like for you. So it's all you.
Okay. I would just like to start out by saying that everything I'm about to say is my own opinion. It does not reflect directly on Peace Corps. Probably differ on a lot of things. So I served in the Gambia, West Africa, which is the smallest country in Africa. It is completely surrounded by Senegal on all sides, except for on the west coast. So if you're ever in Senegal, you might have to go through Gambia. High chance you will, actually, because a lot of roads go straight through it. I studied molecular biology at University of Oregon, which is one of the schools that sends the most Peace Corps volunteers of almost any other school, which is funny because I don't think we have a prep program. We just, I guess, have a lot of people who decide it's a good idea. I did not do any sort of specific things, I guess, to prep. I had never been out of the country in any way, shape, or form. The first country I stepped foot in that was not the US was the Gambia. I do not speak any other languages other than Mandinka now that I learned in country. I did a decent amount of volunteer work in my free time throughout like high school and some in college. I was an outdoor science school teacher, taught native plant ID, and I also taught non-major bio classes as an undergrad, which was cool. I think some of those things helped for my application process. I also did an exchange term to Mississippi State through National Student Exchange, which is a weird little program, which I think kind of showed the fact that I was able to go somewhere else, like stick there, do it, and come back, which I think is more important than most things. What Peace Corps is looking for is your essentially like willingness to like go out there, do the work, get something from it, and like come back. One of the things while you guys are going through your little presentation, been talking to my Peace Corps cohort that also served in the Gambia with me. I was like, hey guys, look what I'm doing. Some of the things that they like told me that I should say to you is that if you like think that you want to do some real good and do some just like, oh, these people need me, like they don't need you. Like these countries Like you're helping with development and you're growing together. But if you feel like you're a savior, you feel like they need you, like you're not the person they need, like they need each other, and like they would happily accept your help in some things and like their development. But like that idea and mentality that like these countries need you in that way is outdated, and I think completely needs to be removed from most people's idea of Peace Corps service. Because when you get there, you are going to learn so much more from the people around you than they're going to learn from you. You're going to have, I served in a like 96% Muslim country, and I learned so much about cultural traditions and all sorts of things that have made it just so like my whole way I perceive everything else is completely different than when I left. And I was only there for 7 months. I'm not sure exactly what specifics you want me to go into about my service. I might need a little prompting.
Well, you know, before we get into, we let students ask some questions too. But Bailey's here as well, who's also a returned Peace Corps volunteer. So maybe I can have Bailey just introduce herself a little bit and tell us a little bit about your service and what Peace Corps was like for you.
Hi everyone, so I'm Bailey. I actually made a short PowerPoint presentation with some pictures, if that's okay.
Yeah, I just made it so you should be able to share screen. So go ahead and do that.
Cool. So I feel like pictures describe things the best anyway. So I served in Sierra Leone, which is, I'll show you on the next slide. But just like Emma, I had a pretty short service because of the COVID pandemic. So I served from June 2019 to March 2020, which is about 9 months. But then we were all evacuated due to the coronavirus pandemic. So Sierra Leone is a pretty small country on the West Coast. It's about the size of South Carolina. And so this was Gambia right up here, if you were wondering from Emma's presentation. And then here on the map, I put a little star where I was actually stationed. So I was in Leone, which is a pretty small village of about 3,000 people. I was about 3 miles away from a bigger village of about 10,000 people. So it was very remote for the most part. And my main job was teaching. So when I went to Western Michigan University and got a degree in chemical engineering. And while I was there, I spent most of my time being a TA for chemistry classes. So that was kind of why I went with the teaching route. So I taught high school juniors and seniors. So there's a picture of me and my students right there. So I taught them chemistry, biology, and physics. I have a photo of my classroom. And so as you can see, it was just kind of like Mod Podge desks. And really the only resource I had was the chalkboard. No one had any textbooks or anything. So that made it a little bit difficult. There's a picture of like the school compound. So we had about 6 buildings that looked like that with probably like 3 to 4 classrooms in them. And so no electricity, no running water. So it also gets up to like 100 degrees there. So it was very hot. And then my school was actually pretty large. So we had about 1,000 students, and you can see them in their little uniforms there at morning assembly. We were the only school in the area to offer the science stream. So that's why everyone kind of came to our school. And then here's a photo of the library. So with Peace Corps, you get to kind of work with your community to have a secondary project. So my secondary project I chose was kind of we chose together, was putting the library together. But you can see there's some water damage on the ceiling and just books are everywhere, not really well organized. And then as for housing, so in Sierra Leone, I lived with no electricity or running water. So the bottom photo here is kind of just the outside view of my house. Depending on the country you live in, you can either live with a host family or you can live alone. So I actually lived alone. And the top photo here is my kitchen. So I did have a propane tank, but I never really used it because the staple food in Sierra Leone is rice. You eat rice every single day, and to cook rice on a propane tank, I would just be refilling it all the time. So I actually pretty much cooked over an open fire over a coal pot most of the time. And then here's a little picture of my bedroom. So malaria is a big issue where I was at. So you have to have your like mosquito net and stuff. And then this was my bathroom. So I had, it's called like a pour flush toilet. So you would just dump a bucket of water down to flush the toilet. And then I took what was called a bucket bath. So all of the tub drained out. So I could just like fill the bucket with water. And then I would use that little cup to like dump the water on me. And that's how you would bathe. And then lastly, I just included some photos of like my family and friends. So this big photo here is my host family. So most times with Peace Corps, you live with a host family for like at least the first 3 months just to learn the culture, learn how to cook, practice the language. But in some places you live with the host family the whole time. So this was my host family. And then here are some of my friends from my village. And then it didn't feel appropriate unless I would add a picture of my little cat and dog there. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions or you want me to go into more detail about stuff, just let me know.
Your pets are so cute.
Thanks.
Did you have to leave them there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's hard. Yeah, maybe we can open up for questions if anyone here wants to ask Emma and Bailey any questions about their service or things you'd like to know.
I realized I didn't tell you guys like what kind of volunteer I was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was a health volunteer. So like what I spent a lot of time at the school, but that's just because I had a lot of my friends were the teachers, which gave me a lot of opportunities to like do like health work with like the students in our community. But a lot of the stuff I did, I was only there up until IST, which is like in-service training. So I'd done a community needs assessment, but I hadn't been allowed to like start any of my actual projects yet, which I was allowed to do in approximately 2 weeks after we ended up getting evacuated. But you end up doing a lot of little projects during your like language and like cultural integration period, where I'd like help with health clinics, keep records during like the vaccination events that they'd have for like kids under 5 once a month and things like that, which was cool. A lot of times people like think you're a doctor, especially if you say you're a health volunteer. People are just like, oh, you're a doctor. And I'm like, no, I'm not, which is something you have to constantly reiterate. People just think you're more qualified than you are. I'd have even like the nurses try to get me to like administer vaccines and things like that. And I'd be like, you have to like constantly put your foot down. Like you literally have more training than me. We're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was also in a very, very rural area. I was 20 kilometers off of a paved road. It took me about 2 hours by the carrier van to get to the closest town. And there was so many mosquitoes because I lived at the end of a peninsula on the Gambian River. So it went bush on one side, and then I had rice paddies and river on every single other one. Lots of people made jokes about anybody coming back with malaria after they came to visit me. So that was always fun.
And there are anti-malaria medicines that you can take in those kind of situations. So.
Yeah, you have to take them. If you don't take them, that's like grounds to get sent home. They find out you're not.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I was going to say is, thinking about a health volunteer, we do get this sort of idea like, oh, I need to be a nurse to do that, right? No, you don't have to do that. Usually you need, it'll tell you on the Peace Corps site what you need, but, some background maybe in biology or something like that. But even that, like I was saying that these sectors are really broad sometimes. And so we found that a lot of engineering students also fit nicely in the health sector because they know how to do water and sanitation projects and they've had some training in that. So if you're, a student who's in that kind of a field, that might be a place where you could apply.
I also applied 100% generally. I applied to any position in any location in the world when I applied for Peace Corps. And I kind of had a feeling I was going to get sent either in ag or health and probably in Africa, just because I didn't have any language. So it was unlikely they'd send me to a Spanish or French speaking country. And then since I had a biology degree, I assumed that they would put me in health or ag, which is exactly what happened.
And I just talked to an alum who applied to Peace Corps, and she's waiting, for things to open up again with Peace Corps to go. But she's been assigned to Peru, where they have a water and sanitation engineering kind of program going on. I guess like kind of engineering light, I guess. So But you do like water sanitation projects in communities there, and they do appreciate that engineering background. She also applied, like, I'll go anywhere, but she had some Spanish background and she had the engineering background, so that's where they were like, yeah, this is a good fit for you. So so anyway, we have those people around. We can you know, connect you if you decide to apply to a certain country and you want to learn more about it and that kind of thing. So questions that Laura, Drew, Erica, Abby, you guys have any things you want to ask either the return Peace Corps volunteers or ask me about the program, Peace Corps Prep? I can't see anybody.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This can be for either one. Did you guys like interact with all of the, like, were there only like healthcare, like Peace Corps workers, or were there like other like people there? Like, did you interact with them?
That's a good question. Like, how much did you interact with other Peace Corps volunteers? And
Yeah.
So I, like, as a health volunteer, like my cohort consists of both health and ag people. Essentially I think it's like 6 months in Gambia, they send in health and ag, and then a separate one does education, just because the programs are a little dissimilar and like how long they last and like just the kind of things you get trained on are different. But health and ag are pretty similar, so we're all in the same cohort. At the beginning, the first 2 months before you get sworn in as a Peace Corps volunteer, you're around your cohort constantly. You're around them a few times every single week for hours and hours at a time. The next 3 months after you're sworn in, unless somebody lives very close to you, you're supposed to be in your site every single day, every night, which some people don't respect. I got called a site rat often because I really spent every single night for 3 months in my bed with my cats. But you see them all the time. And I met a lot of, like, in the closest town, I met a lot of the education volunteers from other cohorts. So you see them a lot. And I had education volunteers from neighboring villages come and do education programs at my school. So you can do like interactive things and like build off of other people's experiences and knowledge and, like, you know, just collaborate to like do cool stuff. Because there's only so much you can do on your own and like so much motivation you can get, but people are always excited to have other volunteers in your village. Because it's worth noting, every single country has asked for volunteers, and then every single community has asked for volunteers specifically into their community and applied. So they're excited you're there. They're always excited to have more of you. It's always just an enrichment experience for them. So it's always cool just to do that. So you definitely see them a lot, but you're also, especially if you're in a really rural place, or like really in the middle of nowhere, it took some convincing to get people to come out to my site, let me tell you that. But you definitely see them, and you definitely will have the opportunity to work with other volunteers.
One thing that's really unique about Peace Corps is that total cultural immersion. So putting a volunteer in a community by themselves to integrate, to build relationships with people in that community rather than hanging out with you know, other Americans is a very intentional part of it. Bailey, were you going to jump in and share?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say, so in Sierra Leone, you have education and then health volunteers. And weirdly enough, we all come in at the same time, but they split our training. Like the first month, you're together. And then the last 2 months, like some days we meet together, some days we don't, just because what we need to learn is so different. But luckily for me, I was really only 10 minutes away from another volunteer. So like we hung out all the time. But I would see my friends probably like, I don't know, every 3 weeks. We would like plan a trip on a weekend because Sierra Leone was pretty small. So it was like decently easy to travel. So that is also, there's a lot of site preference. So I don't know if this happens everywhere, but with our country director, we talked about like, I want to be in the mountains. I want a big school. I want a small school. Like being near someone else is really important to me. And so they kind of took that into account when they picked your village. So, I mean, it was also where you needed to go, but like you kind of had a little bit of say in it as well. So if that's like a very big concern for you, there are probably sites that are near each other that you could put as like a major preference.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I told them I did not care if I was near anybody and told them I preferentially wanted to be like in the wilderness. So they put me nowhere near anybody and in the bush. So it went like that. But a lot of people, like if you really want to be close to certain stuff, or like they won't put you next to a specific person, like they're not going to encourage you to be out of your sight more than you should be. They want you to mostly be in your sight. They want you working with the community. And once you're in the community, like you show up, they're so excited to have you. Everybody wants to be your friend and hang out with you and like help you with your language and your work. Like I didn't want to leave. I wanted to hang out with my like Gambian friends in village. Like, and I felt bad like going and like leaving. And what are you gonna do? Like spend some of your money on things you didn't need and like sit in a hotel bar. Like it's better to be in your village hanging out. You get to do cooler stuff.
Yeah. Erica, looks like you put a question in the chat. You said common environmental projects. Did you want to elaborate on what you were wanting to know there? You can turn your mic on if you want to say more, or just put in the chat. Oh, what are some common, like common environmental projects that Peace Corps volunteers do? Okay, do either of you feel comfortable answering that? I'm sure I could pull some out too, but you can go.
My office mate was actually in Peru, and so he did like the water health sanitation. So his project was, I guess, more environmental related, and he was working on like the water distribution system in his village. But along with like the health and water stuff, you're also doing a lot of like hygiene. So it is a lot more like education too as well. But that was again just his experience, and that's pretty much the only specific environmental kind of project I know of.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of people who are doing like what I would think of as like environmental projects. A lot of times there was like water sanitation, or just like access to clean water. A lot of stuff will be like working on like building community gardens, like getting wells put in, things like that, like working on general education for like proper hand washing and things like that. Yeah, there's like lots of people do like tree orchards and ag. Like I don't know exactly like for environmental wise, there's only so much you can do with what's there, and it's not like you have a giant pile of funding. There's like a little bit you can do, but the best stuff you can really do for the community is to build off your knowledge and the small resources you have to essentially start a project that your counterparts in your community can continue on with, that they can like keep educating, keep doing. Yeah, so I don't know exactly what you mean by environmental projects specifically. I guess us education and health volunteers might also not be the best people to ask. Yeah,
I was just jotting some projects I've known of over the years down to from the environmental sector. So I don't know, these are just off the top of my head, but I mean, obviously there's some education like recycling and trash, and things like that, but natural resource management, sometimes you can find those type of positions. One of the really cool ones I remember is a volunteer in Mexico who was working with her community on community monitoring of wildlife and some of the environmental changes that were going on there. So that was pretty neat. More on the engineering side, I've seen people working on like stormwater, drainage, or even like intersecting with kind of agriculture and rainwater catchments and things like that. Solar power, it's big, especially in Africa, but also there was a student in Peru who was kind of looking at that for her master's research, kind of in Peace Corps while she was there for 3 years, and thinking about off-grid energy solutions and things like that. So I think there's a lot. There's your main work, and then as was noted, most volunteers have a secondary project they work on too, and that you get a lot of choice there to choose things. So if environment is your passion and you want to start a recycling club at the school to get the community, see if they might want to start a program and how you can support them, you can do something like that. So so there's a lot of options, but probably the best thing is like to look at the Peace Corps site. There's volunteer positions. It's really easy to find on the homepage, and then you can click on environmental positions and all of them will come up for the current quarter. So the thing to keep in mind is that Peace Corps rotates through 4 quarters. So what's up right now will be up for now. And then in about 4 months, you'll want to look again and see, some new things that come up and so on. So there's sort of this annual cycle that goes on with different positions. And like Emma and Bailey mentioned, they'll all start in one sector, like all the health volunteers and in the Gambia, you're right, they'll all start on a certain date and maybe whatever month it is, and they get trained together. And so they have sort of these cycles of when they would apply and get accepted and leave. And so all that's on the Peace Corps site. And when you look at positions, you can see kind of like a know by date, apply by date, leave date, tentative, of course, but everything right now is being pushed out to mid 2022. So that would be the earliest departure for a new Peace Corps position. But again, that's contingent. They do keep pushing it out, because of the current situation. So, but don't give up, and keep in mind that it's usually a 9 to 12 month cycle anyway when you apply. So if you apply now, and you're graduating in May, and then sometime in 2022 you're available, then that's perfect. And the other thing to keep in mind is that we have regional Peace Corps recruiter assigned to our area. So I can give that contact information to anyone who wants to talk directly to Peace Corps. And that's your best source of information about what positions are out there, some of the things happening behind the scenes. Maybe a position is going to come out in 2 months that might be really good for you, but you don't see it on the website yet. But that recruiter could give you some more background information and give you some suggestions. So yeah, other questions that anyone has? I know everybody's busy and has to pop in and out of things, so we understand that, and we can get this recording available to others who would like to learn more. But any last questions? Abby, Drew, Laura?
I have another question.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I don't want to make it seem like this is like a resume boost, but like, is there other, like after Peace Corps, are there other like volunteer or communities like that like Peace Corps is like a good starting point for?
One thing you get when you serve in Peace Corps is non-competitive eligibility for federal jobs. So I've seen a lot of returned Peace Corps volunteers get hired by federal agencies. So that's a nice career path, but also I see them go into private sector work for companies, or go on to grad school, and that also, can look really good if it aligns well with the company's values. You both went on to grad school, right? So I'm sure coming to Michigan Tech, that was a plus. But did you have anything you wanted to add from your experience about that?
Some of the stuff that like the staff like in Gambia like talked to us about, just something that like because they've worked other places, they were also at our RPCV, and then now they do some of the head stuff in the country, is that if especially you've ever served in Peace Corps, when you look at somebody's resume and you see that somebody else is a returned Peace Corps volunteer, it shows that they have the ability to commit to something, and like follow it through and like really like deal with adverse situations. So especially if you're talking like field work stuff or like certain kinds of research or just like anything that gets kind of nitty gritty, if you're ever wondering about that, like, oh, like, do you think they can cut it? Like you see somebody as a returned Peace Corps volunteer and you're just like, oh, well, they've definitely dealt with a lot worse, which is kind of what you think, like Peace Corps' little motto saying that it's the hardest job you'll ever love or something like that. And I don't know, it just kind of, there's a lot of resources among returned Peace Corps volunteers. Like the moment I came back, there was like Facebook pages for evacuated Peace Corps volunteers. Anytime I travel anywhere now, there's like a Peace Corps couch surf thing. I just like type in like, hey, I'm going here, and there's 40 people the whole way there offering me to stay in their house and make me dinner. There's like job search stuff where people are constantly posting like things that would be good for a returned Peace Corps volunteer, like job opportunities they're hiring for. So there's definitely some resume stuff. It both like shows some stuff about you and your character and like your ability to get stuff done and like commit to things. And it's also just the same way that like a frat or sorority is, that you just have a chance to connect with people and you already have a lot in common with a lot of people.
Great points. Thank you. All right, we're just getting to 5 o'clock here. I know it's dinner time and other things going on. So I want to thank Bailey and Emma, especially for joining us and sharing some of their experiences. And thanks to everybody for showing up today. If you know of other students that might be interested in Peace Corps prep, please send them my way. I put my email again in the chat. Just let me know. I have a checklist. I didn't show you that, but that's like the easiest way to kind of go through that sector specific stuff and the language and the intercultural sensitivity and the leadership, and just kind of see, you know, what could I fit in here that I've already done, and what I'm planning to do. And then we can plan out, you know, your Peace Corps prep experience. And once every semester, I send names of people who've completed the Peace Corps prep checklist to Peace Corps, and they get a certificate and all that. So we can definitely get you on track. So just reach out. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody. And it's great to have everybody here. Have a great afternoon or evening.